Now we go right up to it and say target, and then they touch the target, and we, and they may go like this. But because we're right there with them, it's and I might recue it if I need to, but because I'm right there with them, there's nowhere to go, so it's easy for them to find their way back to the target. If I send them from further away and they say, did you bridge? And they walk back to me, I've got a whole long way to get them back towards it. But if we're right up there with them and we say target, and then they're like, we target when they go back to it and say, yep, that's the beginning of them getting it. And then pretty soon you'll see them just holding there, and we click and reinforce. So, and this is a point. It's minuscule amount of time at first. It is not even a whole second. So getting them up there, and then pretty soon we can, and a lot of times, I talked about yesterday, and we'll get them a couple feet back, and then we start saying target, but that's going to the target, but we'll wait there. And as they get good about that, and then holding, and then we begin to add our movement in. So it may just be this at first. And at first they might be like, what, you did something. And then pretty soon I want to flap and hop and jump and walk around them, and then just go like, I'm just holding, And so we begin just getting that concept, and then we increase the movement and activity and say, ignore all the other stuff. You just stay till you hear the click.
So, and again, practical for the one who have done it and have a problem with is, it's my horses bite the target. And if I'm not quick enough to bridge, they don't understand. I used to get treat right away.
Right.
So they go.
Yeah.
Bite that thing
And
off.
I think and so we need more
So
relaxation
that's
with the target. Do they touch a handheld target nicely, or do they?
Yeah, that they do very well. But they do very well. They will go touch it, but if there's no reward quick enough, because I want to have
And they'll bite
duration.
that one too?
I'm trying to get duration, so I'm waiting a little bit. Then the biting goes.
Okay, so it does it with either one. Okay, so I think the duration needs to be much smaller.
Much smaller.
Yes,
That's
so
what
I
I'm
think
thinking.
it's almost that point, like you're like target, and you're like, it's a little longer, and that moment that it's just really, really short. So there's sometimes people see it, and then they're like, I just want 5 seconds, and you're like, that's a lot, when they've been going on and off. So just make it super, super short, and it can feel almost useless at first. You're like, what? But for them, it is a concept of a little teeny tiny bit longer before the frustration, but really, really short, hopefully during the relaxation. And then I consciously think about thinking, I want more relaxation overall, so maybe try to do it after you've done a session. You know what I mean? Where they're a little bit satiated mentally, physically, and not quite so intensely excited, where they may slow down and do it. Or give them a mouthful of food, point them, if they'll work with food in their mouth, which a lot of times once they get going, they do, and maybe point them to the target where he's still kind of, eating his food and not quite so seeking mindset, and see if you can't get it for a little bit longer.
Want them to touch.
Yeah, but in the long run, I just want really their feet there. Like,
Okay.
Minty and Georgie would just kind of, they'd check in with it, but they were keeping an eye on what's going on around them and where I was and what was happening. So I don't mind that as long as I feel like they're kind of settled there,
Because mine knows that I love head down, so they go there if they're not bite, if they relax, and then if I don't give fast enough or they reward fast enough, then they put their head down and say, my head is down.
Do you
I
see
am
it?
at the target.
Yeah.
Keep going here.
Yeah. So
So-
I just think the little small pieces and doing it towards the
But
end.
still with the nose.
Yes.
That's better than having the head.
I think it is. I
That's
think
what- that was
it's
my-
very deliberate, and what we have found is that the visual component seems to attract them.
Okay.
I think it gives them a little clarity. I think that when they're really wound up, a lot of times seeing the target becomes like it jolts them out of it. But handheld, whichever. But cues do too if they're really well. But I think it's seeing it. I think the visual is really important for a lot of horses. So I think it brings clarity, and we try to put it where it's a comfortable headset. You know what I mean? Like we're just standing like they normally would. So it's not high, it's not low, it's not a behavior. We want to be really just easy, just standing there like they would normally stand. So, yeah, so just little, I think little tiny bits going a little bit slower. And here's an example of how sharp